Late Night with the Devil starts out with like a minute and a half of studio logo ads, and I'm not gonna lie, I started to enjoy it so much that I didn't even realize the movie had begun, and was even a bit disappointed that it had. Maybe have like a demonic laugh right before the movie begins? I don't know. Anyway, the movie begins as a typical YouTube horror narration channel of a charming late night host whose smile begins to fade a little with each commercial break. But you don't just get to watch this movie and move on. The moment the cameras start rolling, something changes. The audience feels robotic, the crew is on edge, and you start to tense up a little. And just like that, we all made a deal we didn't even know we signed. And you know how deals are, you think you get it, and then there are all these loopholes, and suddenly you see the price and think to yourself, wait, this wasn't what I signed up for, this wasn't the deal I made. Too late, buddy, it's time to pay up. So this movie kind of feels cozy, like you could quite literally just cuddle up underneath a blanket, sit down with your popcorn and just watch it as a late night show, the way it was intended to be watched. Well, not intended, it's a horror movie, but it's so cozy that you could watch it like that if you wanted to. But you can't, it's a horror movie. Let's move on. The studio is retro. Everyone's smiling. The audience is warmed up. Jack's got his monologue loaded. We're in full TV mode, baby. But something feels like everyone's just a little too rehearsed. Even Jack. His jokes are okay, but they just don't land right. He's looking at the camera and you can already tell this guy's not comfortable tonight. I get that it's been many years since he's been live on television, so of course he's gonna be a little anxious, a little excited, but the way he just stands there or just feels uncomfortable in his almost own skin, you can already tell there's something off, something wrong. But whether Jack feels it or not doesn't change anything. Tonight matters. The show must go on. So let's get to the first segment. A psychic with some very questionable powers. I mean, let's be real. This guy couldn't act his way out of a fire sale commercial.
Oh my God! We're having a fire sale!
His first guess flops so hard, one of the audience members almost becomes a stand-up comedian. And for a second, it feels like we're watching a comedy sketch. His second guess lands, and we're like, maybe the mother and daughter are in on the act? We're still suspicious. With every guess, he gets closer to a real one. And of course, his last guess is super creepy. Jack almost freezes. Minnie? He remembers something. But let's face it, we can't just randomly call out names like Minnie and expect the audience at home to be entertained. I mean, for all we know, this entire segment could have been staged, and the producers know it, so they pull the old reality TV switcheroo and bring in the skeptic. Let the clown show begin. Things start to get tense a little, and we evidently find out that Minnie was Jack's wife's nickname. No wonder he looked disturbed. But the way he brings it up is just so casual, you know? He doesn't look disturbed by it. He's just like, you know what? That was my wife. And also, in case you missed it, the reason why he didn't bring it up before and is now able to speak about it is because before he couldn't. The host and the guest having a ghost connection moment? Come on, at least try to make it look real. So of course Jack hesitates. There's no way people would buy that. And the reason why he can finally reveal it is because he has another guest. The skeptic. So people have already started being suspicious because they listen to this guy and they say, yeah, you know what, maybe the skeptic is right. So Jack finally feels comfortable enough, free enough to just put it out there because, hey, if people are suspicious already, they can't be any more suspicious than that, can they? Jack just can't take risks. Not tonight, and neither can I. Here's the thing. I messed up. I kind of signed a deal the moment I started recording, and by watching this, you unfortunately became part of it. But there is good news. If you subscribe to the channel and like the video, we're good. No need to worry. If not, then, well, you know what? I'm sure you will. I don't think we even need to talk about that other option. I'm sure you will. Right? Thank you so much. So our beloved skeptic is so skeptical that it feels like he's being skeptic just for the purpose of skepticism. And even though the energy is shifting towards a more sinister tone, Jack just keeps leaning into it, acting cool. Moving to the next segment. After all, live TV waits for no one. Here's the thing though. In between commercial takes, when the camera cuts and everything goes black and white, you start to notice something. The sidekick, he's sweating, nervous. The crew is uncoordinated, shifting around and somewhat uncomfortable. Even the psychic, whose job this is, wants out. It's subtle. Okay, maybe not that subtle, but like everyone's trying to hold something in, like they all feel something building up. But no one wants to be the first one to admit it. And yeah, it might just be the stakes getting to them, because if this special flops, they all lose their jobs. But even if they feel on edge, they stay. They continue shooting. They don't really seem worried, just a little anxious is all. And here's the thing. Their idea is that as long as we're behind the cameras, we're safe. So whatever happens on stage can't really touch them. They're outside of that. So they're in a protected zone, kind of. That's why they can go on even when things will start to get messier. They've done countless shows, had all kinds of weird things on air, from wild animals to God knows what else. And we're always safe behind the cameras, right? So whatever is going on tonight could never really do them harm. But this idea of safety, it might just be an illusion. Just because you're holding the cameras and holding the microphones doesn't mean you're necessarily in control. Nobody's in control here, except maybe for the devious producers. Yep, that's what I was gonna say. Devious producers. They are, after all, the ones that pay for this entire show. So they must be in control. Yep. Okay, so let's talk about Jack in a little bit more detail, because you know what hides in the detail, don't you? Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's see. The smile is there, the charm is there, the voice is calm, the words are emotional. He's definitely got that show host quality. But his eyes? I mean, there's almost a weird delay behind them. Like it was generated by AI. The script he follows feels off at times. Like he's relying on it way too much. So much so that even when he does improvise, it still feels scripted. And look, I get that as a host, sometimes you need to be the mediator between your guests if things are getting a bit tensed up. But I just can't. I can't with the skeptic, not with the skeptic, man. Like if one of your guests is undermining the other guest's entire act, what even is the point? I mean, you have to ask yourself, is this guy not ruining the vibe? And I know that all of this might be fake, but we enjoy creepy things, scary images, psychics who are weird. Imagine you go to a horror movie and there is a guy sitting next to you who keeps whispering in your ear while calmly chewing his popcorn. Look, you can see the camera and the reflection. This is all fake. Oh, sorry. Oh, wow. Thanks a lot, Bob. Thank you for that. Who even invited you here? Why don't you go back doing refrigerators or whatever it is you enjoy doing? Sorry, I really didn't like the skeptic guy constantly ruining the horror, and I imagine the viewer didn't like it either. Anyway, back to Jack. There is this line early on that kind of fades into the background noise. In the YouTube horror narration movie, when Jack's signing some papers for his show and the journalist casually asks him, "What did you have to sacrifice to be here tonight?" Yeah, we will get to hear this again later in the movie, but initially nobody reacts. No one even looks up. Jack just continues to sign his success. The question might have sounded like a joke, but the movie never drops the idea. Sacrifice. Really, what did he give up to get this far? What's he still trying to hold on to? How much of all this is real and how much of it just for show? You get this vibe like Jack's been building something ever since his wife passed. What? No, not Legos. What? Why would he ever build Legos? What I meant to say was that he's been building this Halloween special, his last resort, perhaps his last shot at redemption. And he's trying so hard to keep it polished and light and just dandy. Yet it keeps slipping through his fingers. Something deeper is going on here. that he refuses to acknowledge. Just the way he talks to people on set, you know how he needs things to go exactly right. And even when things don't go right, he'll smile through it, like when he heard the name Minnie, an unmarried man with a ring on his finger. Keep it cool, Jack. Don't want to lose that viewership now, do we? Okay, but why did the camera linger on his face in that moment? You know, when the psychic said Minnie. How did the camera or cameraman know? Was it perhaps the devilishly brilliant director who never misses a thing? Probably. Every time something real or disturbing happens, he just covers it with a transition or makes a nervous joke that doesn't really land, or he uses one of those lines that he clearly rehearsed a lot of times and sound a little bit cheesy. Well, folks, what a night. Huh? So even when the psychic pukes black mold out of his lungs, Jack keeps his cool. And guess what? No, not call an ambulance, but they'll be right back after these messages. Okay, what a night. What a night. So at this point, things are weird. Not yet super out of control, but weird. The psychics crossed over, and the tension is at an all-time high. Time to bring out the main act. The girl who survived, ladies and gentlemen. The girl who survived, sounds a lot like a parallel universe Harry Potter movie, if you think about it. Wait, her name is Lily too? The parapsychologist enters the stage, and Lily hesitates. Then, as she walks onto the stage, like, what? Dude, oh no, go back, try again. That's so creepy. What is she doing? Girl is definitely possessed by the anxiousness. Yes, she's just anxious is all. The way she presents herself, the way she smiles and stares at the camera, it's all very off-putting. Honestly, good job. It felt like she was looking straight into my soul. I did not like it. So they have a little chat with the skeptic again. And when we cut to the commercial break, we hear something. A voice. A different voice. Coming from Lily. It's Minnie, Jack's dead wife. Just casually slipping out of this supposedly child's mouth. I mean, there is no way this is a child, Jack. Come on, stop shrugging it off. She's clearly about to unleash the old soul that she is. Yep, because the doctor says it, right? She's seen more than most people in their entire lifetime. Anyway, this is where our beloved Gus talks to his boss, Jack, and tells him to not continue with the gig, that he doesn't know what he's doing. The classic moment of the reasonable person with no power warning the unreasonable main character person with power to not mess with things. And I mean, we can't stop now, right? The ratings are rising, baby. Jack's about to become the golden boy, the biggest star in the night sky. And so, with his almighty charm, he's able to convince the very smart and educated parapsychologist Dr. June, who is clearly in love with him, to go through with talking to the girl thing. We bring out the chair, sit down this unsuspecting little girl, and strap her tight, which, okay, you know what? That just seems really wrong for so many reasons, but since this is the 70s, I guess we can ignore it. And when both her voice and appearance changes, you can tell this isn't the same girl anymore. This is something else. This is the different version of this girl. So she, knowing that she's got the spotlight now, takes over completely and paints the perfect picture for Jack to feed his audience. Nobody's alarmed. Everyone's just casually watching, and the cameras just keep filming. Because this is what we signed up for, right? A possessed girl on Halloween night? Yes, please. Can I have some popcorn with that? No, scratch that. I want to have some chips. But entertainment always comes at a cost. She starts saying things she couldn't possibly know. Talks to Jack about the tall trees. Sings a love song for the doctor and the host. And we've been off script for a while now. But at this point, there is no going back to the original plan. At this point, it's all improvise. Thankfully, though, he has his emergency line at the ready. What a night, folks. But you know what? The real horror here was the little girl having her identity peeled off on live television in front of a cheering audience. and they're just gonna call it content, good TV. The thought that someone as close as June, a person that previously said, Lily was family to her, can just sell you out in a heartbeat in front of millions of people to show the darkest, deepest, the most broken part of you. This is scarier than anything else that'll happen in this movie. Well, except for this. So then the chair levitates, the feed glitches, and just like that, another segment is over. At that point on, the energy in the room feels colder. Audience members are no longer laughing, just watching like soulless machines. Maybe they also believe that as long as they're behind the cameras, they're safe. But you know who isn't safe? The sidekick. Something's gonna happen. He is aware of it. That's why he's sweating bullets like crazy. And of course, Mr. Skeptic says that all this was unreal. It was a lie. It was a hoax. In fact, he could put on an even better show. Okay, sure. Let's see it. Here we are. Carmichael takes the stage. The guy who's been rolling his eyes all night. And he brings our poor sidekick Gus with him. Do as you're told, Gus. Whoa, Jack, I know he's a sidekick, but you don't have to actually kick the guy, Get it? Because sidekick? So as the hypnosis begins, or ends, could you ever really tell? The hypnosis begins, I guess, and it's like a meditation session. Except for Gus. He doesn't get to feel calm. Yes, make him hear creepy theremin sounds. Let's make him feel hot. Yeah, put worms under his skin. Screw him. Quite a horrifying moment, to say the least. And odds are, you two thought for a second that it was all real. Because it really was. The thing is, when Carmichael snaps his fingers to wake Gus and everyone up, it doesn't work. He snaps again, still nothing. And that's the first time ever we see dread on Carmichael's face. He says that this wasn't supposed to happen, and yeah, eventually he's able to wake him up by saying the magic words, but his fear in that moment is real. His terror stemmed from the very fact that he too was hypnotized. But also, on another note, he was terrified because he had failed and embarrassed himself in front of millions of people. For people like Carmichael, the idea of failure or embarrassing yourself in front of an audience is far worse than Gus's head exploding, so he couldn't wake himself up. Not until the deer in the lights moment had passed, at least. And yeah, while the big slimy worms were scary, the scariest thing was Gus, breaking down live and no one noticing, not even yourself. Sure, it was all fake, but if it changes your body, if your brain really believes it, then how do you even recover from something like that? But hey, can't stop now. This isn't the time for therapy, Gus. So please sit down. No, stand up. Stand up, Gus. Dance. Dance for us, Gus. Do as you're told. They roll back the tape to see what really happened. And sure enough, it was all an illusion. But then we hear the devout Lily speak up. If the possession was fake, they should just rewind that too. For a split second, Jack hesitates. Then he agrees. Who cares about the singer who's been in the waiting room for hours, right? But you know what? I can almost imagine her happiness when they told her that she didn't need to perform that night. I mean, who wants to sing on a stage that has black puke all over, flying chairs, and thousands of worms, even if they're not real? Nobody. That's who. Bye guys, I'm going home to enjoy the rest of my Halloween, maybe watch a late night show or something, I don't know. So they rewind the possession tape too, and what we're about to see will be more than just Jack's dead wife next to him. But before that, these messages. I don't know if you noticed this, but every time something awful happens, like someone puking their guts out or almost dying or chairs flying or something crazy, we just cut to commercial immediately. Black and white. Silence, a little breathing room where time kind of stops. And when we're back, the lighting's fixed, Jack's smiling, the show feels like it just started and nothing ever happened. Almost like the commercial breaks are this sort of reset button. The crew, the guests, even the audience, they're all acting like it's fine again. Like you can just edit the trauma out with a fade to black. How many times have they done this? How many times has this show collapsed only to reboot and start again? And how many more times do they actually have left? So there she is, Jack's wife, in a white gown. Or it might just be a ghost outfit. Can never tell with those two. And finally, I can say his name. The devil awakens. Not gonna lie, it feels good to finally be able to say it. The devil, the devil, the devil. Ah! And no, this isn't your usual boring bloodshot eyes, face all white with black veins and hair all messy scary demon moment. It's a demon that feeds off of the digital world, the vitality of the viewers and the ratings. It channels some cosmic energy from the camera and the spotlight above her, and her head splits wide open. And you know what? I get why the audience was calm up until this point, why most of the crew chose to stick around. The idea that the stage is a sort of haunted house and everywhere else is just kind of a safe zone actually did turn out to be true. Everyone escapes, except for Gus, of course. Our sidekick decides that in his 45 years of life, he was finally going to become the main character. Oh, wait, he's dead. He's dead. Nope, he's dead. Yep. Premonition much, Gus? Why would he ever say that thing about how his wife likes the way his head sits on his shoulders? The devil was probably like, that's actually a really good idea. That will be his end. Should make for an entertaining bit. But the best part that I'm sure you too enjoyed to the max was when our dear Carmichael kneels and submits himself to the devil. And you know what makes it even funnier? When you look at the scene, he doesn't even immediately do it. You can see that at first he's just looking at the thing as though it might just be some sort of special effects trick, and only when people start dying does he actually beg. Perfect, just lovely, lovely moment. How about Jack? He is able to walk away from the demon. There is a brief moment though where they look at each other, almost like they recognized each other. Then suddenly he's hosting again. The show keeps rolling, cameras are filming, and Gus is smiling. Every time Jack tries to walk off the stage, he's right back where he started. The stage he once worshipped, now practically a prison. And sure enough, it breaks him. He wants it to stop. He screams at the camera for us to turn it off. Turn off the TV. He even screams the secret words to wake himself up from a hypnosis, right? Nice try, Jack. And we don't turn it off either. Unless one of you, sorry to say, but psychopaths, actually turned off the TV when they were watching the movie just because the guy told you to turn off your TV. If that's the case, congratulations. Either way, you're about to find out the rest of the movie. So, don't turn this off though. Don't turn it off. Okay, this might have been a story about the devil, but there are much scarier things than him. Like the horror of being stuck. All Jack ever wanted was to be number one. To be the successful late night show host that's always, and I mean always, on air. And now that he is, it quickly loses its appeal. He wants out. He doesn't want this anymore. And as he visits his wife in her final moments, and sort of sacrifices her in a way of helping her end the pain, he wakes up. The devil vanished. The girl lifeless on the floor. Everyone gone. We never really get an answer to which one came first. Was the sickness the sacrifice, or did the sacrifice come after the sickness? We don't know. Either way, I don't think that's the point. The movie leaves us with a far darker question than that. And that is, what are we willing to lose just to be seen? Is it really worth it to risk so much for the things that we seem to want, but once we get, we just might not? You know, the way Jack, he was always on air. He was number one. He had his TV show. He just didn't want it anymore, right? So at some point in your life, you might get everything that you ever wanted, and you've made sacrifices along the way. Maybe you spent too much time on it. You didn't see certain people that you would have spent some time with, and now you don't have the chance anymore. And then you look back and you say, oh no, all that time wasted, but like for this, was it this? No, turn it off. Let's reset. I don't want this anymore. And that's the question this movie asks you. It asks you, how much are you willing to risk, to make it, to be whatever you want to be, whatever it is that you want to be. And then ultimately maybe realize this wasn't really what you wanted. Quite a horrifying idea. Ultimately though, the devil didn't hijack the broadcast. We invited him by turning on the TV and expecting to be entertained. Jack had already sold his soul long before tonight. Going live every week was just him renewing the contract. And us? We're all complicit. We signed it too, just for the possibility to see an unforgettable moment. So if you're still waiting for that entertaining bit, to have a shocking moment, or a laugh, or even a scare, and you're not satisfied with our service and want your soul back, I'm sorry to inform you, but we don't accept refunds. Dreamer, here, awake. You've just watched Fax Machine 9000 with the devil. Late Night with the Devil. You've just watched Late Night with the Devil with Fax Machine 9000 Late Night. Thank you so much.